Okay, welcome everyone. I am Janice Coyle, founder of the New Earth Visioning Project. Our mission here is to promote people and ideas that help to bring about what we call a new earth and a new us. In this endeavor, we hold a vision of a world where, as we say it, love is Lord, and also a vision of ourselves as new earth people. We also hold in our hearts the vision of our guests as well. So let's begin by a meditation. If you're comfortable, close your eyes if you wish. And I invite you to take a few deep and slow breaths as we relax in our chairs. Feel this slow breath flowing in and out. And let it relax the body. Think of loving, relaxing light flow down from your head and through you, flowing down to your feet, then on into Mother Earth. And in this light and love, allow the mind to relax. Let any thought just flow by unnoticed. Let's put our attention on our hearts. Focus there and feel the energy of love radiating all around, embracing you. Allow this beautiful energy to flow into our creativity, our exploration in the world, how it radiates out to others in the world. Let's feel this right now. From your heart, love energy flowing out to the world. I invite you now to allow this energy to embrace with love all the children in the world. And envision them whole, healthy, confident, and joyful in their play, full of imagination as they were born to be. And let's envision their loving and wise upbringing and education. And let's envision them remembering and understanding where they are now and where they have come from. Let's envision them moving in an energy of love with connection with all they see. And let's envision them and feel them be loved, cared for, and honored by everyone. Let's hold this thought for a few moments. Now, let's come back to our meeting together with love still pouring from us to each other and the children we love. When you're ready, open your eyes. And we'll begin now talking about children. So speaking of children, as you guys know, our guest tonight is Susan Terry, founder of Peace School. And our meeting should be very delightful because it's all going to be about children. Welcome, Terry and Susan. Thank you so much for joining us from Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice, for inviting me. This is an honor. It's my honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's learn a little bit more about our guest. Susan Terry is the founder, executive director of Peace School. The word peace here is an acronym for the legal name of the organization, which is Paradigm Educational Academy of Creative Enlightenment, PEACE. Creative Enlightenment. Well, Susan also is an artist, musician, multimedia specialist, and holds a number of degrees in the fields she has directed and led. But mostly, Susan is a true visionary who, soon after entering grade 1, became disillusioned with the militant and industrial classroom environment. She says, quote, "We enter the world as creative beings with great imaginations to guide us. And what is the perspective we live and learn from? The inside out." Every day she envisioned how, when she grew up, she would change the world of education to a creative, explorative, and enjoyable journey. In high school, she was fascinated by the story of Maria Montessori and her work with mentally challenged children. Susan landed her first career to set up and supervise a Montessori-style child enrichment program with the North Bay Children's Aid Society, and later became a child care worker with at-risk teens in the heart of Toronto. This was followed by a long career in the creative field of multimedia communications, film, television, and radio, where she was a journalist, writer, producer, director, and editor, employed by Crawley Films, International Cinemedia, and all Canadian national networks. She later launched a multimedia agency in North Bay, Ontario, ICU Media, Marketing and Promotions, which entailed media production, communications, public relations, desktop publishing, and web design. In tandem, she was a professor of Canadore College in project management and CTS career training, which included business English, computer software, marketing, and public relations officer for Nipissing University and an ESL instructor, while assisting in the coordination of the regional and national science fairs for grades 7 to 12 students over 13 years. In 2006, after watching her children go through an even more discouraging education experience, she was inspired to begin the school of her early visions, a joyful and enlightening experience for all children to be nurtured to develop in their own design for their fullest potential. Quoting from her website, quote, "Like flowers in a garden, we all contain within the birth seed everything we need to blossom fully, given a wholesome, loving, and nurturing environment." And from her website, quote, "The Peace School mythology is an organic creation founded on a conglomeration of all the finest ancient and contemporary philosophies and methodologies to provide the tools and inspiration that will guide children to live an engaging, meaningful, and purposeful life, unquote. Susan is an advocate of cooperative community living and has volunteered in a variety of ways, playing flute in the North Bay Symphony and 22 Wing Military Band, acting as chaperone and public relations officer for a high school band during 2 European tours through Vienna, Prague, Salzburg, Weimar, Bath, London, and Paris. We could go on, guys, listing her amazing life experiences that have brought her here, where her work now enables children to blossom to their highest conscious potential and become, as she says, the new lights of a new earth. The new lights of a new earth. Wow. What a point of light you are, Susan. We each have our contributions.
It's interesting hearing it back at me.
Okay. Well, all I can say is, wow, Susan, sorry.
I mean, it's amazes me when I re-look at what's happened, because I thought this was the way it was for everybody.
Well, I was just going to say, we all have our contributions, and missions, but this is a particularly lovely one, at least to me. I always loved children, so.
Thank you.
Anyway, welcome again.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
It's a delight to be here and to sort of reflect on all of those things, because you tend to leave all of that in the past. It's just you're living day-to-day lives, and it's when you reflect on it, it's like, wow, I can't believe I did that.
You did?
Yeah.
You did. Let me start with a question.
Okay.
Or just a comment here also. I'd like to, I read your website, and we had this bio reading, but I'd like to know, and I'm sure people here would like to know, what motivated you to come to such a passion for this mission, as you beautifully call it, re-enchanting education in a universe of all possibilities? I mean, you changed your career to study and begin this mission to create the Peace School. How did this happen? Did something happen to you that suddenly just shot you off?
Yes. I mean, it started at the very beginning, but I'll jump up to where this actually started, the Peace School itself. I had gone through that whole career of working in the media and working with the Starscape singers, and I had a spiritual path. I had a spiritual mentor during that time as well. Won't call it a process. It was during a time from 1979 through to 1990. And he continued to be my spiritual mentor, but I was not in with that group. I had moved and had children, got married, and all kinds of things, and took on a different turn. But in spite of all these successes, I started up my own media company, and I was successful in what I was doing. I felt like I accomplished a lot. I didn't think I'd accomplished everything yet. And this one day in 2006, I woke up in the morning. I don't know if you ever have these feelings where you just feel there's it's not a depression. It's just sort of like something's missing. And this one day I felt like I really wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. Whenever I get to that point, it feels like a sort of depression in a moment. It's just like it's a lack of satisfaction. And so I always go, okay, God, what am I supposed to do? So I don't know where I'm supposed to go from here. And the message always comes back within an hour. And the message came back sooner than that, was that I must fulfill my childhood dream and get the credentials to do it. That was September 2nd of 2006. So I immediately phoned the university and told them, I said, what do I need to do to get my teacher's degree? And they said, well, in March, you can apply with the OCT, which is the Ontario College of Teachers, and see if you can get registered in Nipissing University. I said, no, I need to get in there now. They said, well, we have a limited enrollment program. So, and it's full right now, but I said, no, I need to get in now. He said, well, maybe somebody stepped back, maybe somebody dropped out. And they gave me the phone number to call of the OCT in Guelph. So I phoned them, and the next week I was enrolled at the university in full time and got the degrees that I needed. It wasn't the greatest education I can imagine. The best part of it was the practicums. When I got into the Teachers College part of it, I got my BA first. I started out with science as my major, and then I thought, why am I doing this to myself? And switched it to art and music. So I should have fun with this. Never mind this other stuff. I mean, I was doing great. I was in the top 5 percentile of the class, but regardless, it was just a lot of too much brain work. And I wanted to get into the creativity. So that's what I did. And I majored in those, and I excelled in everything that I did. I had other courses as well in French and languages and all kinds of things, sociology and psychology. Anyway, it went by fast, but I never felt that what I was doing in the classroom, because of the way they were teaching, was right. It wasn't experiential enough. We did do group things and projects and stuff, but they were mindless, and they were sort of directed without giving the opportunity for creativity. So the best parts of it were my practicums, and particularly the one I had in Ecuador. I was in the mountains, in the volcano, up the volcano, in the Chimborazo mountain volcano, with the Quechuan children in San Miguel de Pamachaca. And working in those schools it was the most phenomenal experience I'd ever had. Now, I have to say, I'd studied Spanish for 1 year in high school. I did not know that I was fluent in it, but apparently I was. I was in a classroom with the principal at this school. He was Spanish only, did not speak English. And I didn't realize that. I thought he was speaking to me in English. And I was translating for everybody else because they didn't understand him. I thought they just thought his language was broken or something. And I was hearing it in English in my head, but he was actually speaking Spanish. And I was communicating with him. And apparently I was communicating with him in Spanish. I did not know that. Not till I got back. Because there were other situations where we were helping to build a school. We were with Free the Children, was sponsoring this. And we were helping to build a school and build the Adobe bricks. And so the man who was teaching us how to do the bricks, there was a group of us. He would talk to me and explain to me what to do. And then I would tell everybody else, because they didn't understand them. I thought he was speaking English. To be honest, I didn't find out till we got back to the school. We had to do projects and presentations on our journey. And this one group got up and did their presentation and was talking about the translator. Was me. So it was very interesting, because sometimes there are things that we don't see in our own being that others see. And sometimes we don't see in others the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was it this time you mentioned that you also had a near-death experience? Was it during this time?
No. Now, the near-death experience was when I was 2 years old.
Oh.
Yeah. And I didn't find out about that till many years later, even after the school was started in 2013. And what had happened was I was given the MMR vaccine when I was 2 years old. My grandmother was coming to visit for the first time. I'd never met her. And I was very excited about this grandmother coming. So the day before she arrived, the doctor came to our home. Those were the days when they did home visits, and I got the shot of the MMR. And the next morning, I was so sick. I was almost delirious. I was so hot. My mother had me laying on the couch. My brother was a baby, so she needed to care for him, and so she had me down on the couch, and I remember laying there and getting so hot that I went into this deep, it was like a sleep, but it wasn't really a sleep. It was like a state of deep consciousness, very deep within myself. And I saw this, it was like a river. I was standing in a river of this milky red milky stream. And in it, there were all these round platelet-like things, and they were rolling towards me, spinning in the same direction, all of them, and they would part when they got close to me. And then there was this one that was coming straight at me, and in the center of it was a ballerina on toe point in a pink tutu with blonde hair and a little ponytail, and she was spinning around in the opposite direction. And it was driving me crazy. It was coming straight at me. And I thought, I have to get out of here. And next thing I knew, I was on the ceiling looking down at myself. And there was this lovely woman sitting beside me, and my arms were crossed on my chest. And she put her hand on my arms, and she was saying, hold on, dear. They're coming soon, dear. They'll be here in a moment, dear. Hold on, just hold on. She had white hair with this purple tint, and she had this lovely cream-colored dress with puffy sleeves and a collar. I remember the detail in it, and covered in forget-me-nots.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's my grandmother. She's lovely. And the next thing I knew, I was lifted up through this cloud. It was like the first time I ever took a flight reminded me of that. And it was a very dark cloud layer. And we were taking off just before dusk. And as we burst, we went through this mist just like that. And then we burst through. The sun was sitting on the clouds, and it was a spray of colors beyond every color of the rainbow. Well, that was like what it was when I crossed over to the other side. And I was greeted by this very lovely woman who was probably like in her 30s, she looked, maybe. And she took care of me. She took my hand and brought me onto this path. And it was the most, I don't know how to describe it other than the most beyond love, beyond comfort, beyond peace, beyond harmony. The colors were beyond the colors that we see in the most beautiful, colorful garden or in the fall or anything, but it was like that. And it was like here, only it was eternal. It was timeless. It was spaceless. The next person I met on the path as I was going along was a man named Yeshua, Jesus. And he was this very handsome man. And he asked me if I wanted to go back. And I said, no, I love it here. This was peace. I came from a family where my father was, had been in the war, World War II veteran, had lost both his legs. And the way they treated the World War II veterans was in Canada anyway, their therapy was all the free booze they could drink at the Legions. And so they would drink a lot. They all became very alcoholic. So it was a bit of a challenging upbringing with that. I had 5 siblings, 3 sisters and 2 brothers. One was younger, one was older, and the other 3 sisters were older. Anyway, so I came to this beautiful place, and at the end of it, there were people I met on the path who asked me if I wanted to go back, and I'd say no, in these white robes. And then at the end of it, I remember standing right beside Jesus. He was sitting at this table. It was like a big white marble table. And they were all sitting around and they were discussing me. And I came walking up and I'm standing right beside him. And this one man saying, well, she really doesn't want to go. She loves it here. And Jesus said, but it's not her time yet. And his fist came down on the table and hit the table hard at the same moment as my mother unzipped the oxygen tent. And she said, oh, Susie, you're awake. She said, I'm so sorry you didn't get to meet your grandmother. She had to leave this morning. And I said, oh, but I did. And I described what I just described to you. And all I remember was her jaw hanging open, and she never said another word. And I never heard anything about it. So in coming back into the world, returning, I didn't know I had left. I never knew that I had left. I just thought that I was two. I thought that was the way it was for everybody. And I had these wonderful gifts that I do not know they were gifts. I thought they were things everybody had. I thought everybody could read palms. I thought everybody could read tea leaves, tarot cards, and had this, you could feel other people. You could feel the energies, not only see them, but feel them. I thought that was normal. I never knew what normal was. They used to say this word normal. I thought there's no such thing as normal. What is normal? So there is no such thing. We're all unique. Everyone is gifted. And we are all gifted that way, but we lose sight of it. And I believe that all children come into the world with all those gifts. And they are lost because of lack of insight and lack of intuition and understanding of who we really are, who and what we really are. So that's basically where it started. And I just could never understand why people were so cruel to one another. Never did. But it wasn't until 2013 when I read the book Proof of Heaven by Dr. Eben Alexander. And I was so enamored with his story about, his being in this other place and the things that he saw, and how his wife and it was with the doctor, and they were discussing that they should pull the plug on his 7th day because he was going to be a complete vegetable if he lived, that she'd have to take care of. His son was standing out in the hallway and went running into him and started squeezing his hand, said, Daddy, you can't go. I can't live without you. You can't leave. And then he started pushing his eyelids open. Now that part's not in the book. I learned that from Eben Alexander himself. I got the opportunity to meet him. In 2017, he was putting out one of his other books. And I happened to visit in Ottawa. I was invited. And I happened to meet him just as he was entering the building. We had this great conversation. So it was really amazing. But I took this book. After reading the book, I called my oldest sister and told her about it. I said, and she said, oh, I remember when that happened to you. She said, you'd received the MMR vaccine and you got pneumonia, scarlet fever, and the mumps all at once. And you were in a coma on life support for 2 weeks. Your temperature went to 109. That's when I left. The body couldn't hold it, contain it. Anyway, so I came back, and then the doctor had she said, your mom used to come home crying every day after the 7th day, because they told her to pull the plug because you'd be a complete vegetable if you lived, and she'd have to look after you the rest of your life. What was that? Oh, I think I hit a button here. Ignore that. Share screen or something. Just ignore that. I don't know. I'm supposed to share screen. So yeah, anyway, yeah, it's okay. So it was quite astounding to learn that all of this, all of a sudden in learning this, everything that happened in my life started to make sense, because every step of the way I have been divinely guided. And even at that stage when I was 4 years old, when I was entering school, before I entered school, I used to have all these very wild dreams and such, and travel in my dreams and astral travel. That's another story. But I would look out at the stars, and at night, when the first star came out, and my sister taught me the starlight, star bright, first star you see tonight thing. Wish I may, wish I might have this, wish I wish tonight. And I always wished for three things. And I do this every night. Oh, my bedroom window was right there. And the first thing I'd wish for was happiness. The second thing I'd wish for is peace on earth. And the third thing I wished for was for a spaceship to come and take me home. So here we are.
Here we are. I can relate to so much of that. I think that one of the things you're saying is that children are born with this knowledge and then it's taken away from them. And I think in reading your website, it seems like one of your missions is to bring them back to what they were before 4 years old, or whenever that stops. I think you said about 4 years old, they kind of start to lose it.
That's when they start school.
Yeah.
It's telling.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just going to ask you, that near-death experience must have motivated and informed you all this time with some of your visions and some of your missions and things like that. To quote from your website, you said something about to guide our children, your mission, to their highest conscious potential and nurture them with love so they blossom fully while discovering the wonder and joy of being. The wonder and joy of being so many children have lost. And how do you bring them back to that?
Well, I can only say that I'd have to give some examples of what took place within the school in the first year in particular. I'll start with the beginning of it, because when the children were coming, I went around and met all these children first and reviewed the families and the children. So I got a lot of their stories, and they were very diverse, and they were from kindergarten to grade 5 that year. There was only 15 the first year. So we had ones with global deficit disorder, ones with mental challenges and aggressive behavior challenges. And we had depression, ones with depression, major depression, introversion, and other such things. Anyway, we brought them into the school. And the first thing we do in the school in the first day was we got them to hang up their coats. We gave them each little cubbies and got them situated so they had their own little space as well. And the first thing we would do is meditation. The first thing we did was a circle. Everything was in circles. The desks were even in circles. They worked in circles. There was no squares and no boxes and no sitting behind and looking at the back of people's heads. And so the curriculum for the week was established. It was always new, never the same, ever the same. There was no repetition ever. So it was set up with a guideline, was what I call it, like a smorgasbord of ideas were presented. And they all had the classroom together, like the old one-room classrooms. So they were all basically taught. I got this idea from my mother because she grew up with a one-room classroom, in a one-room classroom. So that's sort of where part of that idea came from. But they were all taught the same things, but they would take away from it at the level where they were at, but at least they could reach up instead of looking down. And so it was all thematic as well. The first week, for example, we did the history of puppetry. So I presented the history of puppetry, and I had some videos on all different types of puppetry, gave them some videos and showed them some videos right from the kindergarten up. They just loved it. And right after that, I had them each write their play. So we had a few people, assistants and teachers, who were sitting with the students The intent is for the classrooms to be small, 15 maximum, so that they all get attention. And each one wrote their own little play in the way they wanted, at the level they were at. And then the next day, we had watched the puppet theaters and stuff. So we decided on designing, after they wrote their play, we designed the puppet theater. And the next day they built it, along with their puppets, because they had their plays and their puppets. So we had these sock puppets. We did sock puppets, and I had all kinds of lots of socks from my husband and my son and everybody else. So I got all these socks in it, bags of them, and had all the, all kinds of things that they could sew on them, glue on them. We had glue guns and things like that. So they as a team, designed the puppet theater. And then they worked on their individual plays and their individual puppets. And then the next day they practiced their plays, and they decided who was going to play what role. So they did practicing on it. And they built the puppet theater, practiced their plays. And they chose who was going to direct it, who was going to play what, and they all used each other. So it was really great. And then on the Friday, we did a rehearsal in the morning, and then the parents came in the afternoon and they put on a show. So it was all in 1 week. And one of the mothers commented, my daughter, this is the one with global deficit disorder, she said she's learned more in this 1 week than she's learned in a whole year in school, in a whole entire year. It was amazing. And basically we did things together in a harmonic way. The circles that we started with, I'll go back to that, because they had a choice, and they would always, different person would select every day. The second week we went out and we did a thing on getting talking sticks. So we went out and explored around, and we found different things, plants. I had a book on edible wild. And so we were looking at plants and their things, and they would be looking at picking things up and flowers and stuff, and picking up little trinkets just from nature. And I asked them to each find a stick that would be their talking stick. So we came back to the classroom and they all each made their own talking sticks. So then the next day we started with using the talking sticks, and everyone each day had an opportunity to use their talking stick. And they would decide who was going to be the leader and what they were going to choose, whether it was going to be a meditation, singing. They loved the singing, Pilates or yoga or dance or whatever. But it was something that we were doing as a focus group. The singing one, I had been working with the Starscape Singers in the 1970s. They're a choral group who are one of the top choral group in the world. They've been on all world stages, Carnegie Hall 12 times. I was their videographer. And one of the practices they did was with the singing. And I did this with you the other day. And you start out with filling yourself with breath right down to the diaphragm. And you start with a in your diaphragm, you bring it up, and then you bring it to first down in your lower part of your throat, and then up into the higher part, up into the nasal. And you keep your mouth closed until then, and you purse your lips, and then you put the sound on your lips until they're buzzing. And then you open the mouth and the sound comes out. Sort of like, so we did it with the scale. We started on the low part of the scale and we work our way up. And as we were moving up the scale, all of a sudden you could hear a whole other octaves above us. It was like angels singing above us. We could hear it. Everyone heard it. It was amazing. It was astounding. It was just astounding. So that was one of their favorite things to do in the meditation. And then after that, we would I would show them what we were doing for the day, the different lessons and studies, and they would choose the order that they wanted to do them in. They had a choice, except for their music lesson. They had violin lessons every day. And no, violin lessons once a week and piano lessons once a week. That was Mondays and Wednesdays. They would have the piano lessons, and then I would assist them with the practice. They would have practice first thing in the morning, each one. We'd sit down and they would take turns having practice while the others were in their classroom doing other things. So it was a lot of fun. Anyway, after the second week, one of the mothers came in, she's coming in to drop off her daughter. And she said, she came and she was crying, her tears coming down her face. And I thought, oh God, what have I done wrong? And she said, I have to thank you for giving me my daughter back. This was the oldest one. She said she's just wanted to be here every day. She said she wished there weren't weekends because she wanted to go to peace school every single day. And she had been bullied in her school prior to that. So she just came right out of her shell. And she wasn't, before she wasn't talking or anything. She was always glum and looking down, and she was putting on a lot of weight. All of that left. And she ended up being the valedictorian of her school, her graduation last year. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, you've answered a lot of my questions. How do you bring them into confidence and the different things like that? Does anybody else, let's stop here if it's okay with you and see if anybody else would like a question on how you're doing this. Anybody have a question for Susan? Comment? Go ahead, Teddy.
I'll just tell you something in the chat. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're a little bit breaking up, but go
Can
ahead.
you guys hear me?
We'll try it. Yes.
Okay. Susan, are the children all the same age bracket that are in the classes, or does it vary?
They're varied. They're varied. Yeah.
Yeah, because in the Ring Cedar series, the Anastasia books, the children actually got together and built the school. And in a lot of cases, the younger kids were learning from the older kids.
Yeah.
So they were actually all learning from each other in the same environment.
That's the environment. Absolutely. Yeah. It's about the interaction. It's about engaging and sharing, and everybody has something to contribute. We all do. Everyone has we're all a piece of a puzzle. And what we're getting in the schools today is it's like you're getting this jigsaw puzzle, this big one, and they're only giving you 10 pieces. And you have to, the rest of them are missing. And they're just haphazard. They don't make any sense. And there's nothing you can do with them. You might as well just throw them out after, basically. And that's how I've always viewed it. So I just, it was disheartening to go through school. As Janice mentioned about going into grade 1, my first day and marching, they literally lined us up like soldiers and marched us in. And we had to look at the backs of each other's head. And those were the days where they used the strap and the ruler. I got the ruler across my knuckles because I did cursive writing instead of printing in grade 1. And I was told that I had to stay after school. There were children who put up their hands to go to the bathroom, and she wouldn't let them go and make them sit there. And then they'd wet themselves and she'd make them sit in it. And she would spank people on their bare bottom as well, which was insane. And I, all of this was crazy. Now that changed later on. I got the strap in grade 6 as well from the principal. He was teaching us math, and I had a gift with math. I could just see it in my head and answer it. And he was teaching algebra this one day. And I would give the answers out before he'd just get it written on the board, and I'd throw out the answer. And he said, "You can't do that." he said, how'd you do that? And so I would tell him how I did. He said, well, you can't do that. It has to be this way. And I said, well, no, I figured out. And then he put some more in, and I answer it again. Well, he gave me the strap. He took me into his office after, he made me stay after, and he got the belt out and he strapped me on my hand 4 times, really hard. I just stood there and grit my teeth. I'd been strapped belted by my father before, so I was prepared for this. It didn't affect me anymore. The alcoholics when I was 4, but he got the strap on the hand. I just looked at him, and I didn't even crack a smile or anything. I didn't blink, and I left. I went home, told my mother he was not the principal anymore, and the same was with that teacher. She was no longer the teacher. So I had a good mother. I had a great mother. I had a wonderful mother who balanced everything out. So she was my example. Yeah.
Good. Which leads me to a question. You get some children that are not confident. They come in and have poor self-esteem because of things that happen these days. And I started to get a picture of how you rehabilitate them or bring them back into their selves. But just to tell us, we all deal with family members and children who don't have the confidence that they really should have as beings of God and all that. What do you think is the best thing that you do and we could do with children like that?
Well, I don't really think about it too much.
Okay.
I just approach each one as an angel. And I work with them in a way that is, I look at them with love. And I just try and find out where they're coming from, what they like to do. I want to know where they find their joy, what makes them happy. So I bring it out creatively. The arts are the best way. So the arts are infused with absolutely everything that is in the education. It's the re-enchantment. That's the re-enchantment part. We're re-enchanting them, and we're giving them the opportunity to blossom. So it's like a little seed that's been held up, in a pod and hasn't seen the light, is having a hard time getting to the light. We did an experiment. Here's a good example. You've heard of Dr. Masaru Emoto. One of our directors, by the way, I'll just tell you as a preface, is a scientist. His name is Lauren Zanier, and he has an amazing background. He grew up in Peru. His parents were scientists, and were studying science and plants and everything. And he spent a lot of his time on the Galapagos Islands. But he had a memory of, he was unlocked in time. He would move from one life into the next. And he was the one who did the water studies that he taught to Dr. Emoto. He wasn't a doctor at that time. He was a real estate agent. And Lauren said he wasn't really very bright in science, but he really took that idea about the water technology, the water, and how it changes everything. And how the fact that we have 90% water in our bodies when we're born, it goes down to about 60 apparently as we get older because we don't hydrate enough. But that water, when you look at it with love and intention, that water changes its crystalline structure. And this is how we heal. We heal with love. So I did this experiment with the students. I didn't know Lauren at that time. I met him after this took place in 2013. This was the first year. So I gave each child a cup and dirt, soil for potting soil. And I gave them each 2 bean seeds, exactly the same, 2 of each. And then 2 little plastic bottles. And on one, I told them the story of Dr. Masaru Emoto and showed them the little video about him. And then they were to put a label on each of the jars and fill it with water. And one would be a positive word like love, and the other would be like hate, but they could choose a different word, negative word and a positive word, whatever they wanted. And every day they were to water these plants with these in the same sunlight and water the plants. And then they were to write down their observations every day as well. Well, in every single case, the bottle that had the positive water, and it was about the intention. You had to put the intention of love in there. And the one with the love positive would grow and flourish and was getting blossoms and growing beans, whereas the one that was not, it was all shriveled up. And this is what happens to us. We shrivel up when we don't nurture that love within us. Love heals all. I had another miracle healing in 1997 when I had 4-stage colon cancer, and miraculously healed from it. It's another long story. We don't have to get into it right now, but unless you want to. I don't know.
I'm presuming from what you say, love healed it.
Love healed it.
Yeah.
It was love.
Yeah.
Make her hand up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with children, the same thing. Love handles it. You mentioned to me before we started here that one of the ways to connect with a child is to become a child ourselves. Right? I presume this would especially work with children that need connection and have a maybe not a very great background or whatever, or not confident. How do you? Okay, I can maybe become a child, and I'm thinking about how to do this. And I never learned how to play when I was a child. It just never happened. But so I'd like an example. I'd like to hear an example of a plaything. Yeah.
Maybe it would be a good thing for you to do. Just get out and play sometime, get a ball.
I think I'm 8 years old or something. Go with an 8-year-old.
Throw some basketballs or.
But then teach me what to do.
Yeah.
That would be good. A child is not confident. Teach me how to do.
Yeah, teach you how to do it.
That's a good idea.
Get a child to teach you.
Yeah.
Everything. If there's something you want to learn, just ask and you'll receive. That's all we have to do is ask. That's the one thing I've learned. Megan, you've got your hand up there.
Oh,
go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I wanted to, I thought it would be great if you shared the vision globally for the online school and the physical school so they can get a visceral sense of how that would look like soon in the world.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we're looking for funding for this. And one thing I have is a curriculum to put together the entire, it's called a mentor training program initially, but I also have the full curriculum for doing an online school. Now, the online school will be catering to homeschoolers, which is really important. And what we're looking, like I said, we just need some funding for it. I'm partnering also with the Freedom Farm Academies. I don't know if you've heard of them. Yeah, out of Florida, Jim Gale. And these Freedom Farm Academies are turning whole all your lawns and your forests and everything. There's food forest abundance and Freedom Farm Academies. And so I've just connected with them recently through one of our other the director who just passed away, Reinhold. He was connected with all these people as well. And that's how I connected with them. And so these academies are a great way to start the schools that we plan to build. We have been promised a grant. We haven't received it yet because of all the stuff that's gone on in this world in the last 3 years. But it was about to roll out just before. And these Freedom Farm Academies are the way of starting a community garden. Bring the community in, because the schools are founded on community. At the hub of the school is the community. So it's not like the regular schools. We bring in all kinds of experts and mentors and all kinds of people, elders, to come in and teach their crafts. We had First Nations people coming in and teaching them how to make their own drums. and dream catchers and things like that, and learning about the history of the land. We did that monthly, and for a full day was the First Nations Day, basically, or the Indigenous Day. And we went out to horse farms. So they got to even ride on the horses. They learned how to care for them first, how to groom them. They were allowed to brush them and everything. They got engaged in all of that. We went to this great horse farm. And that was a monthly thing. We went out and took karate lessons. We asked them what they wanted to do, and then we went and did it as a team, as a group. We had a dance instructor come in, and she did dancing with them. We had a yoga person come in, teach them yoga. You know, we had people come in from within the community, come into the classroom and share their experience with them. And it was just such a joyful experience all the time. The students, for example, they got into the science fair, and they entered the science fair, and only the ones that wanted to. There was 5 of them that chose to do that. So I told them that they needed to explore one thing that they loved and explore it to the nth degree, and then do your project on that, because I wasn't allowed to input into it, nor the parents. I told them that. Well, we won 3 of the 5 awards, the top 3 awards from of the 5 children. They got 3 of the awards. So it was pretty something. But you were talking about the global part in the online school. Megan has come and joined us, and this is really a good introduction. So she wrote me sent me an email, and it was one of the most beautiful and inspiring emails I'd ever received. So I immediately reached out to her and responded to her. And I was so delighted that she actually got back to me, and we had just connected in such an amazing way. So do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself, Megan, about your...
Yes.
That would be good.
Yes.
Well, I describe myself as a creative strategist for inspired experience. And based on everything I've learned, I was a filmmaker. So we have so much in common. And we were highly creative from birth, and that never escaped us. So I think that piece just kind of glued us together immediately. And then from there, I fluked into the video game industry, ended up becoming CEO without the usual credentials. I was actually a creative CEO because I didn't have the right, corporate skills, but we ended up sidestepping the system, and we won. And so that's kind of what I'm using to
tell them what it was you did.
Oh, well, I don't want to take up too much
really
time.
important. That's okay. Just tell them.
Well, it was
Nancy Drew Gaming.
Yeah, we were going to make video games of the Nancy Drew books. And I didn't even know anything about video games when I joined it, but I loved Nancy Drew. What I didn't know, and so I got hired as creative director, which was great. But what I didn't know is they wouldn't allow games for girls in retail at the time, because they said girls are computer phobic and deemed them ungame worthy in an industry that was all about play. So long story short, shortly thereafter, when the board realized there wasn't going to be any money, the CEO resigned, and they looked at me and said, Megan, we think you can do it. And that's how I became CEO. And of course, I knew there was an open window and that we would get in retail, which we did through a little startup called Amazon at the time. And anyway, we were very successful. We led with the heart. We uncorporatized everything. We, were already excluded. So basically, we just united, used creativity, and created the most sensational, inspiring games for girls. So
We have we've taken Megan and she's our creative director.
so and I freelance, I play with a lot of different people, but I was just Susan and I just melded so naturally. And the Human Reboot is the initiative that my umbrella initiative. They just work well together. So yeah, so I just joined her and want to support her to get this off the ground, because it's very much like what I did. We're both we all have a different vision of all coming together with our unique gifts to redesign heaven on earth. And so it's really exciting to be able to join hands with, now this new earth, and meeting all these amazing people like yourselves, all coming together. It's just very, very inspiring.
Thank you.
Yes, it's so inspiring. And thank you, Megan. By the way, for the rest of you, Megan's been to a couple of our meetings. She contacted me. She introduced me to Susan. She introduced me to our next guest, Van Eaton, and he's a geologist and shaman, and just an amazing person. I've talked to him twice, Megan. He's incredible. Everything he talks about, I said, we got to remember to say that to our group. Hope he does. Thank you.
It's all these people.
People are coming
beyond mainstream. Those are the people that I've been playing with and learning from for the past 9 years. And those are the people that I'm trying to bring together. So we're all creating this tapestry together, cross-pollinating, seeding fresh ideas, uncorporatizing everything to lift ourselves up again, for us to become childlike with the joy of wonder, like we did until we lost it, Janice, in time, you're going to be playing every moment of the day, because we're supposed to, it's from life, from deadlines to lifelines, from disease to ease. I mean, literally, we're all in the process of returning back to all that we each are, which is amazing. And I'm just so happy to be living at this time where we see each other coming fully alive again.
And we really are. We just ask. It's like there's a group of people on the other side and here and everywhere, and all you have to do is ask.
Yes.
That's all we have to do. Asking you.
Seriously, ask and expect. I almost stopped this. I got a little bit burned out, and I prayed and I said, guys, whoever listened, I need for this to be fun and easy. And guess what? You guys appeared and other people have appeared. It's amazing. I mean, we're coming together, all of us here, everybody present here and others, and we're all coming together.
Yeah, well, here's a new family. This is a great family. Like, I'm so excited to be part of, this group, and then meeting each person. I mean, it's like, this isn't a one-off thing. When you meet truly people who are, making the journey in our heart, and I'm sure, we're not there completely, but we're committed and we're devoted. And so, making friends is easy. And now it's like, what can we do together? Because we're here to play now. It's not about my brand and my thing. It's about actually seeding all of these ideas together and seeing what can be. And so, the Peace School, I mean, can you imagine? This is going to be incredible when it's global, all these beautiful villages with Peace School all over the world, physical and online. I mean, it's what we should have had.
This is what I have done. I've reached out to a number of people all over. There's plans for schools in Belize, in Jamaica, in
It's going to happen.
And
It will.
Kenya, I've already got a group there that we're working on, and it's just a matter of there's a number of pieces that were missing, and the one piece that was missing was these Freedom Farm Academies. And in the past 2 years, have sold over 800 of these Freedom Farm Academies, which also incorporate other ideas. And the partnership that I have with them, we will be also building Arctic domes on the properties and greenhouses. So that it will be all about the garden. It's all about garden, and it's about the growing, and we're all like seeds. Each one of us is a seed, and you just need to be planted and nurtured.
Yes, beautiful.
All the right things. And when we understand that, then we can move beyond it and grow in the way we were intended. And all of these other things that are demonic or dark or whatever, they have nothing to do with who we are. That's what they're trying. Those demonic ones are testing us at this time. This is the time. Choose who you will serve, God or mammon.
Well, also, I'm thinking in dealing with children, you say that your school is based on inquiry, and I've really gotten the vision now, or the understanding, whatever you call it, that all we have to do is ask them. I was going to say, how do we find how to help children to express what they really? You ask them.
Ask them and let them be. Just let them. Let it be. Let it be.
Can you imagine if we had gone to school?
Let it be.
Can you imagine if we had gone to school and they asked, what would you like to do? What would you love to learn?
Yeah.
Who would you like to be? You know, you can be many things, right? And so right off the bat, the sky's no longer even the limit, you know, so just flipping everything upside down. I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to do with people and organizations, so that we're approaching everything entirely differently and fresh with no limits, so that we're, you know, back here again.
Thank you.
Megan, you're leading an adult Peace School.
You are.
Well, I think we're all kids. We are all kids coming back.
Yeah. Does anybody have any comments, questions? I see a couple of people maybe want to say something. No? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I see a lot of this. I realize that this is the end of times, of this time. This is a phase. We are coming to the end of a phase. There were other civilizations that came to an end. Atlantis, one before, Lemuria. They were all like an experiment in a sense. And so it's just learning to rise above that. I do believe that some of us were chosen to come here and we are not of this earth. And I do believe that. And I think that's what's happening, is that we're starting to congregate. And I do feel that here, that there's a congregation of angels who have been put here for this purpose, for this time. And I think everyone's here for this time for a reason. I don't think anything is by chance. I do believe that we all have a route and we all have choices to make. Do we move? We always have choice. We have the choice of freedom in this plane.
That's right.
This is the place where we can practice and experience a 3D 5 sense world that you don't have on the other side. This is where we have the opportunity to explore creation, because everything we think, we create. So if you don't like something that's in your life, you have to ask yourself, what am I thinking? Then change your thought and change your world. Look in the mirror.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
What an interesting conversation. So, you know as well as I do that when you're a child and you've come from a difficult background and you sometimes your depression or your bullying or whatever, it's pointed out as being, disruptive, or you're a difficult student, or you're a disciplinary problem, or this and that, but it could be a reaction to the things that are going on in your home. And these children, when you bring them into your school, I'm not naive enough to think that these issues magically go away for them. So my first question is, how do you support them with this? Children who are truly depressed, of course, need some sort of additional care, other than the school. But my first question is, how do you support them in the school? Because often you get sent back into your home life, right? And you're changing for the better, but your family is still as dysfunctional as heck, right? So how do you support the kids so that they don't backslide into that?
I have a pretty example.
Okay, let me let you answer that one first then.
Okay. We had this one child who was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He was in grade 1, but he was doing math at a grade 4 level. That was the other thing. I don't restrict anybody. They can go at whatever level and whatever rate they want. And I had a whole different marking system, but that's another story. So this one, he was very aggressive, and he was bullying this little girl that was in the kindergarten class. She liked him. She had a crush on him. It was one of those girl boy things. But he started bullying her. And I think he hit her or something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but the teacher that was with him got very aggressive and grabbed him and put him in a holding. We had this one teacher who came from the old school system, and she hadn't learned yet. This was very early on in the year. So I went and I took him by the hand, and I said, I'll take him to the office. He was used to it, when he was in the other school, in the kindergarten, they took him and sat him out in the hall and disciplined him and made him feel like he was scum. So I took him into the office and I started talking to him, and I asked him about what was going on at home. And his father they'd separated, the parents had separated, and there was some abuse issues, I guess. So I just asked him, what's going on? What's happening in the house, in the home? And he says, nothing. And I said, are you having problems with your family or your father or something bothering you? And I just asked him questions, and then I let him talk. And he all of a sudden, his whole energy came down, and he would it became very peaceful. And I just encouraged him to love himself. I said, there are things that people do that we don't understand sometimes. I'd been in that situation myself, so I understood it. I said, just all you can do is love them. I said, he doesn't mean to hurt you. And then I talked about the little girl. I said, if she did that to you, how would you feel? He said, not good. And I said, well, what would you do? What would you want her to do to fix it? He said, well, say sorry. I said, well, do you think you could do that for her? He said, yeah, I could do that. And he completely changed from that day on. He was a completely different child. And his mother came and picked him up and heard about this. Excuse me. She had heard about it, and she picked him up and she said, so what did you talk about? He said, oh, nothing. So what'd she do? Oh, we just talked. That's all. What'd you talk? Oh, nothing. It was so cute. Anyway, he changed completely after that. And he was actually very pleasant. And he's grown up to be a really fine young man. So there's things you can do. You have to take a different approach. You have to find out where they're coming from. People don't do things for nothing, just to do it. There's a reason, there's something behind it, and they're striking back. If they're hitting someone else, they're striking back at somebody who's hit them. And that's usually the case. So by striking out at them again isn't helping. It's just making them feel like they're useless. It's making them fall into their shell even more. What you want to do is draw out, always draw out, and always go to the heart.
Well, thank you. And well, the school system that you and I grew up in is just based on shaming, and you're not going to change anyone's behavior with shaming.
No, never shame.
No. So,
Yeah. Yeah, just acknowledge with love, just love, because love is an energy. It's not just a thought. It's not a thought at all. It is what we are. It comes from the heart. And also, it's through the ethers. It's everywhere. We are all one with that and united in that energy. And when we just love ourselves to start with, you cannot love another until you can love yourself, truly. And you cannot truly forgive another unless you can forgive yourself for what you've done or what you've thought about somebody else. Because thoughts are things. We create by them. Everything we think, we create.
I wish I knew that like 30 years ago or something like that.
That's about when I learned it. I had a spiritual mentor who was the most amazing. If you want to look him up, it's kgmillsfoundation.org, kgmfoundation.org. Kenneth G. Mills, kgmfoundation.org. And he's the conductor of the Starscape Singers. And he was, I actually saw first in these visions that I had after an experience I had with 5 Pleiadian spaceships in Niagara Falls as they were taking off that I witnessed. And following that, I had these visions that would last like a full night of everything that's happened already and everything that's yet to come. And in this vision, at the end of this apocalypse, there'll be great floods and such happening. And then we will be lifted. I was lifted, and as were all others who were enlightened, were lifted off the earth into these galactic ships. And we ended up, I remember it entering the ship, it was beamed up. It was like all this black, dark stuff was coming in, it was closing in, and then this beam came down and lifted me. And I remember in there on the ship, there was all these beautiful people, angels, sitting in yogic, lotus position. And in this very large room that was like a gymnasium, and it was crystalline and sparkly. And at the head of this room was a throne-like chair that was like white marble. And on either side of this chair were these huge crystal globes with all these lights, every color swirling around inside, just lights. And then all of a sudden, there was only one place to sit when I got there, and it was right at the foot of this chair. So I walked up to it, and then all of a sudden, this man appeared in this chair, like Star Trek. That's 1971 when it first had it. It was before, I think, before Star Trek and before Close Encounters. So appeared in this chair in this long white robe, and he had this beautiful skin and spark. He was just light, radiant light, and his eyes were like turquoise beams and diamonds. And he had this white crown of hair, and he started to speak. And as he started, after he appeared, there was a big hush in the room. Everybody's quiet. I knew that all we had to do was listen attentively to every word he said, because it was truth. And these were the words that we would carry with us when we returned to the new earth. And then I remember flying over the earth and seeing all this devastation. And then we flew into this mountainside. There was a big mountain range over the ocean. Could see the crystal clear in the water, a reef. And then up the mountain, there was a river that ran right up the mountain. And I later saw a picture of that before I went there. And that place was Belize. I went there in February, just before this started. Anyway, so it turned out that the man that I was in the chair, I met in 1978, was the conductor of the Starscape Singers. I was invited to this concert, and this was the man who I had met. But there's another story behind it, but I know we're running out of time. So I'll leave that for another time.
We will have to have you back again. You have so many incredible things to talk about. Jean, Jean, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I was
Go ahead.
curious about your the Synergy 2 Smart Eco Villages that are listed on your website. If you're currently starting that, or where, I mean, it's really looks
What
like a
Yes, what happened there is that Reinhold Ziegler was one of our directors, and last October he had several strokes following the booster shot. He was encouraged to take the 2 shots and the booster by someone who was not very smart, and he died next morning. That was like, so on Sunday, we're actually doing a memorial service for him. He was the founder and the father of visionary of solar, the solar panels. He's in Berkeley in 1970s. He did one of the first solar panel things. Anyway, he has connected with over 100 people, have connections who I've connected to. And he was one of our directors, and he's handed me all these projects. And we were working on that project with UN Swiss Indo. It was to be funded, and should have been started rolling out like in 2020. That was the plan. So all of this, what's going on, is intentional to block this from happening, but it will happen. So it's going to happen. It's happening now. I've connected with all these people. We are getting together soon, and the thing is we're looking for is funding. We need the funding to do this. So the funding that we were promised, I think, has been blocked by the banksters as well. I've seen some things happening there because it was rolling out, and there was a gold-backed cryptocurrency that was created. That was the very first one that was created by the M1, who is a descendant of President Sukarno. I sat on his council. That's another story for a number of years. So
what is his name again? Reinhardt, what?
Reinhold, Reinhold.
It's on the site.
Yeah.
And how do you
It's
spell
on the Peaceful site. Yeah, he's up there on the site. I didn't take him down. I couldn't take him down. I don't have the heart to, because he's at the heart of this. And all these people have come to me, and they want to help to build this and make this happen. So
And funding will happen. And we also have an eco village developer who is interested in partnering. So it's all going to happen. It's really in motion right now. So it's so exciting.
Yeah. We will do this. This is the new earth. Okay. Janice.
Yes, it is. It's a new earth. And one of the things I'm really feel so incredible to be part of and just to know about and present to people is that the new earth is emerging, and we all are doing it. And
Yes.
I've been determined since I started this group way back a couple of years ago that I wanted. It was in the midst of all this fear and everything going on. I just kind of wanted to prove that these things are happening. They really are. And it's not just us here, right here. It's so many people all around the world. It's actually happening.
Well, that's another story. Yeah, it is happening. I'm working with a group of doctors and creating a domain. It's called unitedvoices.earth. It'll be up very soon, within the next month. And it's to bring together all these angels who are doing these different projects around the globe on a safe, secure domain where you can put your banner up there and connect to your site. And so everyone's recognized.
Yes.
And we
can work together communicate.
We can find each other.
Yes.
So it's more like it's a directory.
Mm-hmm.
So we can find each other.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're past our time. We're going to have you back again. I have a list of questions. I don't have enough time to type it, but I've got more questions for you and other new ideas that you could talk about with us. Also, you, Megan, and the rest of you too here. Just for those who are tuning in to our YouTube, let's speak your URL. Go ahead, Susan. What's your URL?
Oh, my URL is it's https:// peace PEACE hyphen school SCHOOL.org peaceschool.org.
peace-school.org. Okay, that's easy. peace-school.org. A lot of other ideas you'd have. There's a resources page for those who want starting right, and for those who would like to learn how to resources on home schooling, and for anybody that would like to know more about that. And anything else from anybody? Any final comments or questions or anything? Go ahead, Teddy.
Yeah, I was just going to say the school and the eco-governance and the other gentleman we had on talking about his circular city and stuff like that. And, you know, when you put all these pieces together, they're all pieces of the new earth.
Yeah. We all need
And
to
it's
come
beautiful.
together.
It's really beautiful.
We need to come together. Yes.
Yeah. So exciting. Thank
And
you.
isn't it? Exactly. Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you for everybody. I wish we could go longer, but we promised everybody and the YouTube links, video links, that we would kind of stay with them. Hope to have you guys again next. Our next meeting is next Tuesday with Von Eden, and he's amazing. I'll send out the explanations of his talk and everything, and just wait to hear from that. Our video will be available in a couple of days to be put on YouTube, and you guys can share it. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love and
Thank
light.
you. Yeah, love and light. Bye-bye.
Janice, if you'll hold off stopping the recording, I need to do some things before we stop it.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Susan. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, you can stop the recording.
Okay. Stop the recording.